Reading Rainbow Episode 21, Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan was the largest, smartest, and strongest baby ever born in the state of Maine. Even before he learned to talk, Paul showed an interest in the family logging business. He took the lumber wagon and wandered through the neighborhood collecting trees. He soon grew into a sturdy lad who wrestled with the grizzlies. One morning, Paul awoke to find the world under a blanket of blue snow. He heard a moan from inside a snowdrift, and there he found a shivering ox calf. Paul adopted him and named him Babe. Both Paul and Babe began growing at an astonishing rate. But the ox never lost the color of the snow from which he'd been rescued. At 17, Paul felt an urge to move on. He said goodbye to his parents and headed west. Paul wanted to cross the country with the best lumbering crew available. He signed up legendary lumbermen like Big Tim Burr, Hard Job Murphy, and the 7 Hackett brothers. As soon as he had cleared the land, pioneers moved in to set up farms and villages. On the far slopes of the Appalachian Mountains, several of Paul's men were ambushed by a gang of underground ogres called gumbaroos. Paul grabbed the camp dinner horn and blew a thunderous note into the gumbaroos' cave, determined to blast the meanest right out of them. To Paul's dismay, the gumbaroos responded by snatching the entire crew. A wild, rough and tumble rumpus began inside the den. When that historic tussle was over, the gumbaroos needed 6 weeks to untangle themselves. Paul's next job was to clear the heavily forested Midwest. He hired armies of extra woodsmen and built enormous new bunkhouses. The men sailed up to bed in balloons and parachuted down to breakfast in the morning. Unfortunately, the cooks couldn't flip flapjacks fast enough to satisfy all the newcomers. To solve the muddle, Paul built a colossal flapjack griddle. The surface was greased by kitchen helpers with slabs of bacon laced to their feet every time the hot griddle was flooded with batter. It blasted a delicious flapjack high above the clouds. Usually the flapjacks landed neatly beside the griddle, but sometimes they were a bit off target. Fueled by the powerful mixture of flapjacks and syrup, the men leveled the Great Plains and shaved the slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Suddenly a big blizzard buried the entire mountain range. Now that blizzard continued for several years, snuffing out springs, summers, and autumns. Babe became so depressed that Paul asked Ollie, a celebrated blacksmith, to make a pair of sunglasses for his friend. When Babe saw the world colored green, he thought he'd stumbled into a field of clover. He began eating the snow with such gusto that soon all those pent-up springtimes simply exploded. Paul and his friends invited some newly arrived settlers to join them in a celebration of all the holidays that had been missed. After the festival, the lumberjacks continued their journey. But as they headed southwest, the blistering sun and the giant Texas varmints proved to be more of a problem than they had expected. While crossing Arizona, the griddle curled up like a burned leaf and the batter evaporated. Deprived of their flapjacks, the lumbermen became weak and discouraged. Paul's great axe fell from his shoulder, gouging a jagged trench, which today is known as the Grand Canyon. Disaster seemed certain until Paul came up with a family that could sell him a barn filled with corn. When the flaming sunrise hit the barn, it exploded, and the lumbermen awoke to find themselves in a raging blizzard of popcorn. Dizzy with joy, they pulled on their mittens and began blasting each other with popcorn balls. A westerly wind kept the cooling clouds of popcorn swirling around Paul and his crew until they crossed California and reached the Pacific Ocean. After he had crossed the country, some say that Paul gave up lumbering and rambled north, searching for new areas of untouched wilderness. Sometimes his great bursts of laughter can be heard rumbling like distant thunder across the wild Alaskan mountain ranges, where he and Babe still roam. The end.